So recently, the Andrea Libman, the voice actress for Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy, made this Instagram story showing that she was back in the booth recording lines, specifically shouting out her role as Pinkie Pie. This caught the attention of many fans. What could this possibly mean? Is this just some unrelated project, or is Andrea Libman actually announcing a new role featuring Pinkie Pie? Well, many people are swift to point out that this could possibly mean that the new My Little Pony trading card game made in China might be receiving an English localization, where Pinkie's lines would have to be dubbed over into English. And while I do think this is very plausible, I find some elements about this to be a bit bizarre. This would mean that Andrea Libman is back on Hasbro's payroll, which only happens for major projects like Friendship is Magic or Pony Life. I mean, Hasbro has not been afraid to get substitute voice actors for supplementary material. Hell, they did the same not too long ago for their Hello Pinkie Pie series. So to get Andrea Libman back for a tutorial for a pretty niche card game feels insincere, or way too dedicated for something so small, especially since this is being recorded at the same studio as where Friendship is Magic was recorded, which seems oddly specific, which has led to the secondary question of what does this mean for the future of My Little Pony? We are currently being drip-fed information about the next generation, but all signs are pointing to one clear, undeniable answer: the revival of Generation 4. It's no secret that the 4th generation of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, was Hasbro's most successful attempt at the franchise yet. So much so that it effectively doomed the following generation to an early cancellation when it was unable to reach the same heights. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic wasn't just a part of the My Little Pony brand, it became the brand. And much like how Joseph Jackson tried to drain the success of Michael, Hasbro plans to whip this dead horse for over a decade, with a pretty big marketing push of Generation 4 nostalgia, primarily in China and the United States. It seems like the world has acclimatized itself for more FIM. I and many others have talked at length about the future of My Little Pony, and if they're going to attempt to revive it. I specifically talked about what I would have liked to have seen. Please check out that video if you haven't already, but I haven't really ever talked about what I think they're actually going to do. And that is, how do you possibly justify doing more Generation 4 after the definitive ending, leaving no more room for stories with the main 6? Well, you would just need to do a little retconning. Allow me to set the stage, if you will. Give us a cold open to how I think this series would try to hook its audience. With one book closing, another opens, one that recaps the story of Twilight Sparkle, the Princess of Equestria, and the friends she made along the way. Each segment is narrated by Twilight's friends before it asks the question of what made her the princess. How did her reign lead to harmony across the world? Well, this forgotten story is here to answer that. We transition to Twilight, trotting down the halls of her castle as Spike takes several notes as he recounts the events planned ahead of her. But Twilight doesn't seem to be too worried. In fact, she's rather lackadaisical. Funny how we reach the point where Twilight and Spike's temperaments swap, with Twilight even noting this, suggesting that maybe one day Spike would make for a good princess. Spike, though proud, asks how Twilight is somehow so relaxed as a princess when she used to be so anxious as a pupil. Twilight simply responds with, "How can I?" as she steps onto the balcony, looking at the beauty of her kingdom. Just beyond the horizon, she sees the heart of Equestria, the place she knows that as long as it's standing, the whole world is alright. Ponyville. But their view was soon blocked by a shadow cast on top of them. Her mouth agape, Spike dropping the quiver and parchment. A voice above them spoke. Are you really Princess Twilight? The camera slowly pans up to reveal what Twilight and Spike are looking at. They see wings, they see a horn, but it's no alicorn they recognize. But we do. It's none other than Sunny Starscout. We need your help.
My little pony, my little pony.
Pause. There's a lot of things I need to explain, don't I? Let's talk about this. Everyone with at least one eye and a functioning brain cell will recognize that G5 was an abject failure. But what's interesting about this generation is that much like G4, it's a part of the brand now. It's been absorbed into the cultural osmosis, and it seems like Hasbro is still interested in using the characters and concepts it introduced. We are still getting G5 merch, mainly in the form of Symbiote Studios plushies, and between the comics, marketing, and scrapped concepts, concepts, it seems like the current strategy is to grow this cross-generational identity. To me, I feel like if G4 is coming back, it's going to carry some of the baggage of its sequel generation. But this wouldn't just be a way to bridge the gap between G4 and G5, but to connect every My Little Pony generation together. Maybe there is more than one magic mirror or gateway to Equestria. Maybe there are dozens across the entire universe. A variety of alternative realities where magical creatures have come and gone. And Sunny and her friends come to this one to seek the guidance of a past version of Twilight Sparkle. This results in G4 being this sort of wonder generation, this binding glue of the My Little Pony franchise, and one that I think Hasbro would find to be very lucrative. Because not only are you preserving Generation 4, but you're also doing cross-promotion to the other generations, effectively giving those fans a reason to check them out, and ergo buy their merch. But I'm not coming at this from purely a corporate angle, because there is an artistic element you can take away from this. A benefit from retconning Generation 5 into its own universe that is simply an alternative future of Generation 4, you legitimize it more as its own generation, rather than continuing the continuity that came before. You could really do anything without having to worry about the baggage of Generation 4, because it's its own universe. It's kind of like those alternative futures in the Season 5 finale if you want something more to chew on. Heck, we could connect those together if you really wanted to go crazy. These generational crossovers aren't going to be the main draw of this revival, but a special aspect about it. So every once in a while we get an episode or two about what's going on in a different universe, and see the characters cross over between them. Maybe for a season finale we have Grogart from G1 be a reoccurring villain, or we do something silly like Sunny Star Scout and her friends come to Counterlot High. The sky's the limit, and what makes this great is that it creates an evergreen series that you can always fall back onto. If you want to experiment with an entirely new, unique generation, you can do that, and if it fails or succeeds, it can always come back to this My Little Pony Friendship is Magic revival, effectively making it a retirement home for Friendship is Magic and its previous generations. Does this sound very corporate and kind of anti-art? Yeah, but that's sort of the point of this video. How can we make My Little Pony a successful brand again? I'm not saying this is what they should do, but it's what I think they would do. With that being said, this has the added benefit of not being stuck with Generation 4 forever. They can experiment out of their comfort zone and try something different, and if that doesn't work, there's always a safety net to fall back on. So we can still get things that are new and exciting and be able to move on from Generation 4 if we so choose. You can just stop watching the revival and continue to keep up with whatever new generation they choose to introduce. It's a win-win situation. The fans win, the creatives win, and Hasbro gets to line their pockets with fat stacks of cold hard cash. Now once again, don't expect the actual generation to be exactly like this. It's obviously not. At the end of the day, Hasbro wants to protect their bottom line first before anybody else's. So if you want the most ultra realistic doomer scenario possible, then it's more than likely we would just get My Little Pony Zombie Simpsons. But that wouldn't make for a very interesting video, now would it? But I've said my piece, so now I want to turn the question on to you guys. What do you think the future of My Little Pony is going to look like? Are you hopeful, or do you think it's doomed from the start? And what do you think of my idea? Would you be down for it? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already, please check out the intro animatic to My Little Pony Chronicles. I worked really hard on it, and I think you guys will really like it. Anyway, that is all the time I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been May, and I'll see you next time.